Hello and good evening. I'm Don Arleth and you're watching Flash News. We start off tonight with the coronavirus infection figures for Poland. We are well into the fall and the pandemic is once again taking the offensive. The number of new infections is growing by almost 100% per week. Today, over 6,200 new cases have been reported and 75 fatalities, which is a drastic uptick. This is yet another record number of infections during this wave of the epidemic.
Another day and another infections record. COVID wards are filling up. We are seeing a dynamic increase in the number of COVID hospitalizations. Further facilities like the hospital in Dąbrowa Tarnowska are being converted into COVID hospitals. On the 25th of October, the hospital will be converted to a COVID hospital again. We will be providing 186 beds. Increasing the availability of beds is essential as the pandemic accelerates. The number of new cases has increased by almost 100% since last Saturday. The fourth wave is accelerating. People's behavior has not changed significantly. There is no massive increase in vaccinations. People don't comply with regulations, so it was to be expected. Over 6,200 new infections have been detected across Poland in the last 24 hours. 75 people have died. The Lubelski province continues to record the highest number of cases. 100% of the people who are in my hospital due to COVID were not vaccinated. Starting on the 2nd of November, all adult Poles will be able to register for a booster dose. Referrals will be issued to all vaccinated persons 6 months after the last dose. Research shows that the third dose is extremely effective and significantly raises the level of immunity for a long time.
The Court of Justice of the European Union has announced that Poland has applied to revoke the ruling that ordered the suspension of the coal mining at the Turov lignite mine. The ruling followed a complaint from the Czech Republic and prompted a protest by Polish trade unions in Luxembourg.
Lower Silesia closely watched the protest of trade unionists in front of the Court of Justice in Luxembourg. The demands presented by the trade unionists are the voice of the entire region. Residents oppose the CJEU ruling made in May ordering the mining in Turów to be stopped. The Turów mine is the source of jobs across the whole region. The mine and the power station employ 3,000 people, and their subcontractors employ between 50,000 and 80,000, according to the PGE. The residents emphasize that there are no alternative workplaces in this part of Lower Silesia. The Germans and the Czechs would be so happy about it, even though there's only one mine here and they have a dozen. There are over a dozen mines similar to Turów that operate unhindered across the region. There are more similar mines in the Czech Republic and Germany than in Poland. Some of them are larger, so this is a challenge for the region. The Ministry of Climate and Environment has commissioned a study of the impact of the Janschwalde mine, located in Germany but owned by the Czechs, on groundwater levels in Poland. It should be noted that we are dealing with Czech and German mines owned by Czech oligarchs for whom it is convenient that there are problems with the mine in Turów here in Poland. Negotiations have now been broken off, but after the Czech parliamentary elections, the representatives of the victorious Spolu coalition, which is to form the government, want to return to the negotiating table.
7 months have passed since the arrest of Angelika Borys, the president of the Union of Poles in Belarus. Despite sanctions, threats, and diplomatic pressure not only from Warsaw, a number of representatives of the Polish minority remain imprisoned in the Lukashenko regime's penal colonies.
Today, the life of the Polish minority in Belarus is all about constant worrying. Having harassed and arrested leading representatives of unions and independent journalists, the regime follows every footstep of other members of the community. Lukashenko wants to ruin everything. He wants to erase real history and the real state of affairs from our memory and to cause all Poles to leave Belarus. Lukashenko needed an external enemy for Belarus. The Poles were the first. They were accused of subversive activities, even though their only sin was being the Polish minority. What we know about the charges is that she was locked up mainly because she organized the Kaziuki in Grodno, and that was the first reason, but then there were also the charges of promoting Nazism and enticing ethnic hatred. As the president of the Union of Poles in Belarus, Angelika Borys has already been detained and imprisoned in the past. She knew that the regime would find an excuse if it wanted to. We are going to organize the Day of the Polish Community, and that could also be the basis for a court trial. The way I see it, they are striking against the Polish minority. Journalist Andrzej Poczobut is also in prison. Along with them are hundreds of other political prisoners. Some, like the 3 activists of the Polish minority, were successfully taken out of custody and transported out of Belarus. However, Boris and Poczobut are too valuable for the regime. At the moment, there are more than 800 political prisoners in Belarus. Mind you, this is happening in 2021 in the center of Europe. The 800 is the official figure. Unofficially, 4 times as many are being held in prison. They are people who disappeared from the streets in broad daylight only because they had the courage to speak the truth about the crimes of the regime.
Before Hollywood star Alec Baldwin was handed a gun and fired what turned out to be a fatal shot, he was supposedly told by an assistant that it was a cold gun, meaning that the prop was ready, checked, and safe. According to the preliminary findings of New Mexico police, the actor is distraught to have killed the cinematographer and wounded the director.
The world is left wondering how this could have happened. Instead of a Western movie, it's a horror.
A blank is just this part, sealed off with a little bit of wax or with cardboard, and all of the gunpowder that can propel this through a human body is still inside the blank. So it comes out with enough force. If there's any discharge, if there's any debris inside the barrel.
One of the advantages of shooting a Western is that you can ride a horse on your day off, wrote cinematographer Halina Hutchins in a recent post 2 days before her death. The question is, who was at fault? What is known is that the actor was given one of 3 prepared revolvers. We don't know if Alec was given the wrong gun or if the gun he was supposed to use was improperly prepared. Special safety rules apply on film sets. A licensed weapons specialist and props master should be present. The weapons are carefully checked, including the barrel, and the actors undergo training. The cartridges are loaded at the end. According to American media, some of the crew left the set before the tragedy, complaining about poor working and safety conditions, including those related to weapons safety.
The aftermath of the Cumbre Vieja volcano eruption can be felt across the entire island of La Palma. The extent of the destruction caused by the lava on the surface can be seen with the naked eye. In order to see the impact of the eruption on the underwater marine ecosystem, scientists are using a special submergible robot.
The Cumbre Vieja awoke a month ago. The lava reached the Atlantic Ocean. An underwater robot was sent there, and it is now sent the first images and information. Among other things, it showed the presence of ash covering part of the marine habitat. It will now collect samples of rocks, gas, fauna and water. It will have plenty of work as the volcano is not likely to rest soon. Scientists estimate that the eruption could last up to 3 months. It's a relief, say Californian firefighters, as they wrap up the trunks of the giant sequoias in the National Sequoia Park in the Sierra Nevada. This is how they were protected against this year's fires. Among the protected trees was the famous General Sherman, the largest tree of its kind. The wrapping was necessary in spite of the fact that sequoias are very resistant to flame and they have evolved to be able to survive fires. It's a vehicle from the future, but not too distant future. The Jetson 1 was created by a startup from Sweden and is meant to be available to anyone. This electric, super lightweight, manned aircraft was created from parts printed with a 3D printer. The flight time is 20 minutes. The vehicle has a whole range of safety features built in, including a parachute. One of its designers is a Pole, Tomasz Patan. The San Antonio Zoo in Texas has some very talented residents and extremely creative employees. It was they who came up with the idea of involving hippos in arts. To do this, they cover the animals' mouths and noses with non-toxic paint and then apply canvas to them. And this is how works of art are created. Is this great art? It's hard to say. It certainly is unique.
And that's all the time we have on the program. But don't go anywhere just yet, because coming up next is Border Report. Thanks for watching Flash News, and we'll see you next time.